All right, this clip's with Sam Bilhorn from Whitetail Partners, and he's breaking down some projects to keep in mind for this upcoming spring, the shopping list, some supplies, where to get them to make the most out of this spring, aka habitat season for whitetails. Hope you guys enjoyed this clip from the Land Podcast. Here we go. What are some other things that people should be thinking about right now in terms of implementing for spring projects? Because I know some of this stuff, for instance, maybe ordering trees or ordering different types of seed, you probably need to know what you're going to do. I mean, what are some things that landowners or aspiring landowners should at least jot down and say, okay, I need to get organized on this?
So I break up, let's call it habitat season, right? So we have, as soon as we're done hunting, habitat season starts. And in my mind, that does go all the way to hunting, but the prime time is until green up. So I'm going to break that in half and say this first part is planning. The first efforts we have are to figure out what we need to do most. If we're diving in and working on an isolated project without eyes for the whole property, we may be working in the wrong spot. So as I said before, the scouting and prioritizing and all those things. And yes, then making those plans and priorities. So you mentioned it, bare root trees. That's something that's critically important on most properties. And if you aren't getting those orders in by January, you probably aren't getting your trees, or at least good quality trees, depending on species and supplier and all. All of that stuff. And by the way, for those who aren't familiar with bare root trees, check them out. There's awesome distributors all over the place and great products to get massive amounts of trees going on your property. And I'm not talking the 6-inch little seedlings that a lot of people think of. I'm talking 2, 3, 4 footers that you can get rooted and really have them take off pretty quick.
Yeah, for sure. Last year I ordered a bunch and I got them from the Illinois State Nursery. Do you have any other areas or websites that people should jot down?
Sure. The one I work with locally in southern Wisconsin is Sustainable Wildlife Habitats. And their website is just that, sustainablewildlifehabitats.com. Great. Mike Blackburn is a fantastic guy and I love working with him. I have no sort of sponsor relationship or anything like that. I just direct people to him. Mike's a great guy and a great business. There are others certainly within the state of Wisconsin. There's 2 or 3 more. I just can't think of the exact names off the top of my head. And then I'm sure there are a variety throughout the upper Midwest if you just want to do a simple research and figure out what they have or compare their products and pictures and those sort of things to the Sustainable Wildlife Habitats one that I mentioned. To find someone locally. Shipping is a big part of this, or can be a huge thing. So don't plan on shipping them. Try and find somebody close because they brought them in on a semi. You don't want to have to pay to somebody to put them in a box and send them to your house.
That's good advice. What kind of talking about bare root seeds or bare root plants and everything else? What do you typically end up planting the most on some of these tracks? I mean, do you have a core list of? I do actually. And a question like this, I'll just make reference of it because it ties into the report, and really it's become a how-to manual that we give clients. And that is every subject. This question there's a full page listing of our go-to species for different applications. So I'm going to take more of an upland setting on this question, but a lot of times, and we have a lot of hardwood timber that we're working with in southern Wisconsin, and it's supplementing that with a lot of conifer species. So for screening and cover, I really do like Norway spruce. You can do some white pines, though the deer, you really got to protect them as they're getting rooted or you could be in trouble that way. But Norways are great in open field habitat to make screens quickly. You can supplement that with red pine to get even a quicker screen, but those red pines are quickly going to die off on the bottom. White spruce, I like using. They're a slower grower, but a denser screen on the lower part. So I'll oftentimes pair a Norway with a white. And then I really like using white spruce in the timber to supplement bedding areas and corridors. And when I say corridors, I'm talking deer travel routes through the timber. A lot of times in those areas, we've done cuttings, both felling of trees and hinge cutting to make a lot of side cover. That's a good immediate burst, but supplementing that, getting some bare root white spruce going in those areas and just littering them in. I mean, plant them like a bird would. And getting that going, that'll really make for a thicker travel route and bedding area later on. And the final one I'd throw in there is some cedars. A lot of times I like to use those in bedding areas on hillsides with
fairly steep slopes, but still you have some decent bedding areas like a bench and things like those. Those are some of my go-tos in those applications.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. What about, do you have any favorite hardwoods that you like to plant on most of these parcels too?
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of times in dealing with hardwoods, a lot of timber in the areas that I'm working with, people have let it go a long time. It's pretty mature. There's not as much timber harvests as there may have been in the past. And a lot of times we're starting off with mature timber. So one of the first things to do is to assess that stand, work with a forester, get a few opinions on not only just the habitat side, but managing your timber, and perhaps starting off with a cut. We're not necessarily going in there and doing plantings in these existing timber areas. I'll get to open field in a minute. But those areas, we're going to perhaps thin that stand and then supplement back depending on the exposure, the aspect of the side slope that you're talking. I've always liked white oaks. I think that as far as acorn quality and long-term longevity is good, a little more resistant on oak wilt than reds and go into the acorns and all that. But I'm getting very regionally specific too. As far as open field habitat, I would say diversity. Unless you're looking to have, and this gets back to goals too. All these things I'm saying need to be keyed back to the person and their goals. If your goal is investment and long-term timber harvest and some of those things, obviously you're going to have a different perspective. But if it's habitat and setup for hunting and those things, really a mixture of all kinds of stuff. And I'm even talking some more softer hardwoods like even a box elder, maple, some of those things, just to get browse and different growth patterns and side cover. And then we mix it a lot too. So we'll put in some of those conifer species I mentioned right along with it. And what I'm talking about is a open field pocket to try and develop bedding within an existing open field.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. I mean, that's the excitement of your job, I'm sure. Every situation is slightly different, but you're still trying to solve the same problem. I hope you guys enjoyed this. My name is Jake Hofer, and I'm a real estate agent out of the state of Illinois, and it's my goal to help 100 people buy their first farm. Been doing that with the Land Podcast and clips like this every single Thursday and Saturday that are released here on the channel. And to be one of those 100 people, all you have to do is, if you're in the state of Illinois and I can help you, I'd be happy to do so. Number two, if you want to get connected with someone that can help you, reach out and I'll be happy to get you in contact with an agent that I would personally do business with. And the last one is, if you just simply learn something from the content we're putting out, or you get inspired to take action, I want to know, get you out of that spreadsheet. I'm on a mission to help 100 people. Until next time, see ya.